Hi, this is Lynn M. Dixon. I'll be reading from my book Gardens of Green, Tyre, and Phoenix. This is the sixth book of a series of 6. Once on the train, they were happy to discover that it was quiet and uneventful. That was great, so they dozed and read and looked at the scenic views from the large windows. They were exhausted and cherished the downtime. They arrived in New York City on time. When they saw the quick movement of the people at Penn Station, they knew that they needed to jump into city mode if they did not want to be run over. They looked at each other and laughed, and she said, "We better get with the program." "Yes, we don't want to look like country bumpkins," he joined in. They started moving at a breakneck speed and pulled their luggage in the direction of the cab stand. They looked around at the tall structures of the cabbie as the cabbie drove them to their destination, and it made them feel refreshed as they returned to the big city life. They checked in at the Manhattan Hotel. The room was nice, and they stretched out and relaxed for a while. They had eaten on the train so they could slow down before their next venture. Later, they went down and caught a city tour bus. It was the best way to see the landmarks, and she, of course, took plenty of notes. After the tour, they walked a bit. He pointed over to Madison Square Garden and said that one day he wanted to come and see the Knicks play. She again said, "All things in time, my dear." They later returned to the room, and when she looked out of the window, she breathed, "Skyscrapers." "Yes, many," he laughed. They turned in early and both slept quite deeply. The next day they went over to Battery Park and studied the monuments which honored those who had lost their lives in service to the country. Then they got in line to take the ferry over to the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. They decided that they would not go inside of the buildings. Instead, they took pictures of all the sights of the New York harbor and the other people on board in the boat and mini selfies. Tyre and Phoenix went back to the room and slept for a while before going out for another walk. She had her Macy's gift card that he had given her for Christmas. "Can't leave NYC without going to the historic Macy's," she said. They had mapped it and walked into the store. She paused at the directory and searched for certain departments. Finally, she said, "Follow me." They took the escalators up, and he simply followed her and let her guide the way. He figured that she was looking for a particular garment. She stopped on the chosen floor and went over to a rack of dresses. She started to move them down and slowly examine them. He stood to the side and waited patiently. Then it hit him. He thought, wait. He looked up at the sign and saw that they were in the maternity department. He took a step back with his mouth open. She caught his stance from her peripheral vision, and she turned with a sidelong glance. She smiled a little devilish grin and winked at him. "Oh, Phoenix," he exclaimed. I know," she comforted him. "So this is the way you tell me?" he asked. "Yep," she said. She walked over to him and hugged him. He pulled out his handkerchief and wiped his brow. He hugged her back and kissed her twice. People walked by smiling as they imagined that this couple was having a celebratory moment. Phoenix bought 2 maternity dresses and 1 maternity top, and they headed back to the room. Later that night, they went out to dinner where there was a live band. They danced and celebrated the good news. He drank plenty of wine, and she had plenty of water.